Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. I rise today about something that's really alarmed the people of McLaren Vale, and that is the threat of the movement of our town boundaries to incorporate an extra 40 hectares to be developed by two owners of land in that area on the southern side of McLaren Vale. Now, we thought we'd put this to rest 6 years ago when we came into this place and put through two bills, one to protect the Barossa Valley, another to protect the character of the McLaren Vale wine region. But unfortunately, the owners of this land won't take no for an answer, and we're asking the government to ensure that they go out and tell the owners of this land in no uncertain terms that the boundaries of McLaren Vale Township will not be expanded. Because the problem we have is when you expand the boundaries of McLaren Vale, then a year later or 2 years later, a planning minister decides to do some development in or increase the boundaries in Wollonga over a series of years and a series of changes to those township boundaries. The towns join up. Now, McLaren Vale is an amazing place to live. It's a great place to visit as well, and produces some of the best wines and food anywhere in the world, and we want to make sure that we preserve that. So this has been going on for the 12 years that I've been the local member there, where we work together as a community. We had the McLaren Vale Business Association, we had the Friends of Wollonga Business, we had McLaren Vale Great Wine and Tourism Association, the Southern Coalition. We had everyone, the environment groups, business leaders, the grape growers, the winemakers, all working together to make sure that we could come up with a plan that would preserve the character of our great region. And when we put that bill through this House and the upper house, and it became law 6 years ago, we thought that was it, done and dusted, although we knew there was a review to be held after 5 years. Some of those things that have come up in this 5-year review is that people want to have a review every 5 years. I say no, we close that down and don't allow that to happen. What we've done here is as historically significant as what Colonel Light did when he came in and put the parklands around our city. And what we have done here is now being looked at around the nation and indeed around the world as world-leading legislation to protect agricultural land that right around the world is becoming rarer and rarer as cities grow, as urban sprawl spreads out from the heart of a city and consumes the wonderful soil and land that has for centuries and in many parts of the world being used for agricultural pursuits and to feed the world. So there's two landowners. One is the Carides Corporation, and they were told, 4 or 5 years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, that they wouldn't be allowed to develop this land because it wasn't in the town boundaries. Now, they bought that land and it was for agricultural purposes. It's still for agricultural purposes. In their submission, they are saying that it doesn't really matter. It's sort of just low-value land. Well, they're not using it for agriculture because they ripped the vines out on that land 4 or 5 years ago, and it's there like a big middle finger to the people of McLaren Vale. They've left all these vines in big piles. We've had grass fires go through there, and it's really a shame that they've done that. And we, the people of McLaren Vale, and I live in the area, and that's something that I've declared in my letters to the planning minister, that I live in this area that we have protected. And my neighbours and the people in McLaren Vale, the people in Wollonga, the people in McLaren Flat don't want to see these boundaries change. So I call on the government to make sure that the Carides Corporation and the other proponents from McLaren Vale Vines Proprietary Limited, which have land bounded by Aldersea Street, Johnson Road and Main Road at McLaren Vale, are told in no uncertain terms that those boundary changes won't happen, and that they can either sell the land and someone can use it for agricultural pursuits, or they can hold on to the land, but it's not going to change, because this is an issue that's vitally important for the people of our area. And what worries me about the Carides Corporation one is that I know Jerry Carides is a very strong personality who's urged me, he's urged planning ministers in the past to change it, and I know that Christopher Pyne and the Premier spoke at his 81st birthday earlier this year, and I hope he is not trying to curry favour with the new government to change these boundaries. boundaries, because this is something that will result in a huge backlash from the people of McLaren Vale. And I thank the Planning Minister for the conversations that we've had around this issue. I know he represents the Barossa Valley. He also has very strong feelings.
Member for Wait.